Hello and welcome to QED Stata 3, starting from part S17. So I've given you the do file here, so there's really very little you're going to need to do apart from find the do file. I'm just going to run this really, but first of all it won't work for you because this part here is showing where the data file is on my spreadsheet, where the Excel file is on my computer, sorry. And that's called the path. It's the way to get to the folder with the data in it. So that's got to be right for you. So the way to get this is to go back to stata and look at this command here, where you use that import command to bring it in. So click on that and that'll open again. And here you'll see the thing that you need. So just copy that path. So wherever drive you've got yours on, that should show in that part there. So you just copy that and put it in the do file instead of this part here. Otherwise stata won't be able to find where your data is. If you've lost that part, if it's not showing in your history, if you can't see that, then you just have to do that import again. That whole thing, importing it from Excel again, just to see where it is. Because the idea is when you run this do file, each time you run it, it just loads that data in again from Excel. So make sure you got that sorted out. I think I do worry that's going to cause people some problems, but please just drop me an email or put something in the forums. It's better because then I can explain to everybody, try and explain more clearly. Okay, let's go back to the instructions, see what we're supposed to be doing next. Well, okay, fair enough, we run the do file, so hopefully it's going to work. No, the do file, not that far. Okay, so when you've got that in there, hopefully you can just press run and everything will just happen. If you go back to state, you can see things happening hopefully. Oh, yeah, it's doing something. Here come the graphs. Okay, so here the graphs all gradually appearing on the screen. So I'm going to arrange the graphs, and while I'm arranging the graphs in this pretty pattern here, check you've got the same thing happening as I've got here. You can arrange your graphs if you want, and then think about these questions 2, 3 and 4. So you might want to pause it and think about questions 2, 3 and 4. So I'm going to arrange the graphs and then I'll talk a little bit about questions 2, 3 and 4, what you might say for that. So first of all, arrange the graphs. So that's both legs. I'll put that bottom left. That's just primary school education legs, so I'll put that there. What's this one? No legs at all, that's the current data. Doesn't quite fit, I can go there. And I've lost the last one. That's literally it's about the right place, good. So there we go. Yeah, so and there is the table of correlation coefficients. So hopefully you've had a chance to think about these 3 questions. So if you have not thought about these questions, make sure you stop the video now. Think carefully about these questions and then come back on and we'll see if we agree. So hopefully you pause it. Can you match up the charts with the correlation coefficients in the table? Probably this version is big enough to see for that. I'll zoom in a little bit. So the top right chart here, that's just using primary education in 2018 and literacy in 2018. So the most recent data, no lags. So using the most recent data, you get this, which is maybe hardly any visible correlation there. That matches up here with primary 2018, literacy in 2018. That's this one. There. Negative 0.387. So it's almost exactly 0. It was very, very small. So really there's no correlation there, that's saying. So that's that one. Then what I'm doing is I'm lagging each one. So if I go to the left, I'm lagging education. So this is primary education 20 years ago compared with literacy effectively today, or 2018. So that's primary education in 1998 compared with literacy today. So that is a pretty strong, 0.75, a really strong positive correlation. So that's the 0.75. Then that's those two. These two, okay, they're both, that's the primary today with literacy 20 years ago. So that's when, well, when I say today, I mean 2018, 2 years ago, compared with literacy then. And then here's when they're both flagged, so both 1998. And both those have got quite strong positive correlations, this one particularly. So that's matching up the charts, but you might, are they what you'd expect to find? Well, this one, well, is that what you'd expect to find? There's no real connection between primary schools today and education today. Sort of makes sense because primary schools are educating people now, so that people haven't, there's no time for it to show up in literacy if there's an effect that way. There's no time for an effect on literacy in terms of like training the teachers of tomorrow and making people appreciate education more. There's no time for causality in either direction. So maybe that makes sense. There's not much showing there, though I might have expected something. The one that does definitely make sense is this one, the top left, which suggests that primary education 20 years ago, the more of that you had, the more of today's adults are educated. So that seems to make sense. If you go the other way, there's no real correlation. Well, there's a very weak 0.4, but what you notice with these two is there's only very few dots. There's very little actual data to go on. So if you're looking at 220 countries in the whole world, you've got 6 or 7 countries in each case. It's not enough. And we can see why if you just go back to the data editor here and look at the data on literacy in 1998. It's just back 20 years ago, there just wasn't enough. I mean, if you go forward just a couple of years, 2001, 2002, there seems to be more effort, maybe because of Millennium Goals, more measuring of literacy. But the problem with this is that the data is much more patchy. You get the enrolment data pretty much every year. Measuring literacy is not something that happens every year in many countries, at least not in those days. So you can't really deduce very much at all from those lagged variables. That's a real drawback with it. Then finally, can you explain the 6 correlation coefficients that don't correspond to one of the statistical arcs? Yeah, that's, for a start, the ones on the leading diagonal, that's diagonal there, they're perfect correlations, exactly 1, because that's when the data is correlated with itself. So if you put primary education 1998 on a scatter graph with itself, the values are the same, so it should be a dead straight line, so they're always perfectly correlated on there. The ones that are slightly more interesting are this one here, primary education in 1998 is correlated with primary education in 2018. So countries that had quite high enrolments in 1998 tend to have higher enrolments now. You can think there are different causalities for that. Why would that be? I mean, is it just indicating that the countries that have higher degree of economic development or that valued education more then tend to value it now? Or people that if there were lots of people that educated then there are more teachers available now, and that kind of thing. So there's a positive connection there, as you'd expect. The one that's a bit weird here is this perfect correlation between literacy in 1998 and literacy today. And that's actually because there's only 2 countries in the world that have got data for both 1998 and 2018. And so if you have 2 points, and if I can get this on the camera, 2 points are always in a dead straight line wherever you put them. So they're perfectly correlated. It just means there's 2 points. So that tells us nothing at all. Okay. So what we're going to do next is try and look at different years, because the problem is that gets over the problem of missing data. Just look at more years, and also some different variables apart from just the gross primary and the gross primary and literacy. We'll look at different variables as well. So if we do the same thing we just did, we have to select it, download it into Excel, get from Excel back into Stata, clean up with DStream, which is a bit of a pain. So it's better if we use the other way, which is directly, Stata pulls it out of WDI indicators directly, and that's much better, and that's what we do a lot of the time. But before we go on to that, well, when we go on to that, that'll be the next video. So for now, thank you for watching.